Hey everybody. And so today, week two, mission number one. This is a very important transition. This week is going to be all about challenging our beliefs. And so the first week, we identified the prison that we are living on when we are depressed. And literally, it's like a prison that is holding us in these boxes. We know that there is a biological aspect of it. We now know that there is a psychological aspect of it. And then we also know that there is a social aspect of it and all the implications in each one of them. We also know that there is a separation aspect of it and in each one of the different separations that can occur. Now, there is actually a belief about each one of those things. And our minds are currently working through beliefs. That's what we run on. Those beliefs make us have thoughts. And those thoughts then create feelings. And then those feelings make us take action. And so one of the biggest things to do is actually to challenge those beliefs, right? And so to challenge those beliefs. So one of the most powerful tools is through inquiry. And there's different ways of going about this, but one of the powerful ways that I've seen this work be done is called The Work by Byron Katie. And I just want you to kind of think outside the box and open, maybe have like a beginner's mind towards Byron Katie. She is an incredible writer, author, and she helps a lot of people work through issues. And a great thing about her is that she was very depressed. She was actually homeless, and she talks about a story in which she was homeless and she actually had so low self-esteem that she was actually sleeping in the floor, and there were cockroaches crawling through her. And then she realized that it wasn't the fact that she was homeless and that she was sleeping on the floor, or that she believed that it was that she wasn't worthy. It was whether she believed that belief, right? Whether she believed that thought and the attachment to the belief of that thought. And so I think that's a huge important distinction, because we can have thoughts, but if we believe those thoughts, that's where start really having the problem. So what I want you guys to do is actually take a look. I've put a link to Byron Katie's an example of, she's going through this with a person, and just kind of have a beginner's mind towards it. And then now I want to go through, for instance, one of the worksheets. And so I'm going to share with you guys the screen here, right here. Okay, great. And so then here, this is one belief at a time, right? And so right here, you're gonna write down a belief that you have towards depression, right? And so then after you write this belief, you're gonna write, is this true? Is this true? So for instance, if I write here, I am a failure, is this true? And then can you absolutely know that this is true? And then how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? How do you react and what happens when you believe that thought? What emotions arise when you believe that thought? What images or past and future do you see yourself when you believe that thought? How do you treat yourself and others when you believe that thought? And then you go to the fourth part, which is how would you, or who would you be without that thought? Who or what would you be without that thought? And so you turn the thought around, and now, for instance, if I'm saying, I'm a failure, then what is the opposite? I'm success, right? And so then contemplate that for a second. And so what this does is that this work actually opens up the mind to be able to consider other options, and you flip it around. And then, if I'm a success, then you try to prove yourself that you're not. And so it's just playing with our beliefs and our thoughts so that we can actually open the door to consider another option. And so, you know, the video that I share, the guys mentions the pit. And so the pit is so important, right? Because the pit is where we sit when we are at darkest moments. And so in this pit where there seems like there is nothing but darkness, and it's just such a big hole where there is no feelings and everything is just emptiness where there is no feelings. I think a great example of this is the following: out of the pit, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods might be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried out loud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That poem was written by William Ernest Henley. And this guy was affected by tuberculosis, and he had to be in the hospital many, out of his lives, years out of his life. And in the darkest pit, he would recite this poem. It was his favorite poem. Invictus. This is the same poem that Nelson Mandela would repeat in his prison when they put him in prison for 25 years. Because, and this poem exemplifies the pit and the power of the pit, because in the pit, from that moment, like, what is the point of life? Is just when we're at the pit, the point of life is being in the pit and speaking the truth out of the pit. Because in the pit lies the power to be able to open the door for us to become the next versions of ourselves. Out of the pit, owning the pit, stepping into the pit, being in the pit. That's the point. Being in the pit. And then out of that can come the power for the next versions of ourselves, right? And so this work by Byron Katie is a great example of how through inquiry, through questioning, we can actually start considering the next options, And so that is what I wanted to talk about today. And so your mission for today is to take a belief that you have, that is some type of negative belief, and try to do it about depression, about that feeling, and then go through this process. And then, at the end of it, you'll see the process of like how it can happen. And so I do this type of inquiry every day today. Every single day I do it, and I'm going to do a tutorial on it where I run through it myself. And I'm going to, do something that is happening. And so throughout the week. And so, but I just want you to try this so that you can start realizing that the thoughts don't have to be your beliefs, and that we don't have to believe and attach belief to every thought. And it could actually be the opposite. And so that starts opening the door. And then when you can do that every day, every single day, automatically, it's very easy to then deal with our minds. And then we begin to understand how to the inner workings of our thoughts and our minds and how that affects our feelings. And so that's one thing that I'm going to work on. And if you guys do that today, that'd be great. This is mission number 1, week 2. Here we go. Get after it. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.